Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live, midweek Wednesday night edition. Yes. I'm going to be holding it down myself tonight, but it's still got a pretty good show for you. Got some pretty interesting topics, I think, and got a couple of quick hits, of course. So obviously, when it's just me, the show tends to go a lot faster. So that's probably what's going to happen here. We don't have Transformer and G, but that's all right. You know, I can handle it. So yeah, got some interesting topics. Going to talk about obviously LeBron, right? We talk about NBA. LeBron is the guy, right? He's the biggest name in that league, so we got to talk about him. We'll talk a little bit about Boomer Esiason, former NFL quarterback, and his recent comments regarding Shedeur Sanders, arguably, depending on how you look at it, the top or the second best quarterback coming out in this year's draft class. Then we'll talk the main topic, obviously, Anthony Edwards, and how he recently said that he doesn't have any interest in being the face of the league, and needless to say, I do not like that. But we'll get into it. There's more to it than that, more context. And then finally, we'll finish up with an NFL topic because, of course, the NFL is king, and we will talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and their contract issues and what they're going to do about getting that done. So, yeah, definitely I'm excited and ready to bring you this show, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and you know what I'm going to do. Then we'll take a couple minutes, see if we get some more people in the chat, and then we'll get it rolling. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept aware anytime we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you enjoy the content as you listen, make sure you give us a like, a 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And write it down, put it in your phones, make a note of it. The Format Podcast is live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And finally, if you're really and truly enjoying the podcast and you want to help the show continue to grow, make sure you go ahead, click that join button, join the channel. We're going to have some exclusive content just for you. Speaking of that exclusive members only content, I got that on the way. I'm hard at work on it. So hopefully we'll see that pretty soon here. But I think it's going to be a pretty good episode, basketball themed. So, yep, that's on the way. That's coming. All right. Like I said, we'll take a couple of minutes here and we will let a couple people get in the chat, and then we will see what we got going on. Boomer Esiason, former NFL quarterback, former Super Bowl participant with the Cincinnati Bengals, lost, I think, 20-16 in the Super Bowl in, I want to say, 1988, if I'm not mistaken, to the San Francisco 49ers. Shout out Laker Nation. That was Joe Montana's fourth and final Super Bowl championship. So yeah, he knows a little something about being an outstanding NFL quarterback. He knows a little something about winning. He knows what it takes to be successful at that position on that level. And as you can see from the thumbnail, we also have Shedeur Sanders. Depending on who you ask, either the first or the second best quarterback coming out in this year's quarterback draft. And if you ask me, I am, and I try to be objective here, but I'm a huge Shedeur Sanders fan. I think the dude is incredible. I don't think there's any other way to put it. I think he's incredible. I think that this is a guy who has the ability to make every throw. He's accurate, like he's insanely accurate. Kind of reminds me of CJ Stroud, but a little shorter. Deceptively athletic, faster than people think when he gets into the open field, but can really sit in the pocket, slice and dice, and manipulate coverages. Really knows what he's looking at, can go through his reads and progressions, and is tough as nails. We saw over the past 2 years with a less than outstanding offensive line. I'm not going to be disrespectful to those guys, but a less than outstanding offensive line, this guy was able to consistently, take a pounding pause and get back up and stand in there and look down the proverbial gun barrel and make every throw, and I think Shedeur Sanders is amazing. And it's funny how the draft evaluations are all over the place on him. I saw some today that have him as the 20th overall player in this draft. I've seen some people that say, he's a middle round pick, like a second day pick. I'm like, oh, what have they been watching? I've seen some people that say he could be a top 5 pick, a top 3 pick. I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? But I think, to me, he's easily my number one quarterback in this draft. Again, I think CJ Stroud is my comp for him in terms of an advanced level of cognition, an advanced level of reading defenses, delivering the football, standing in there, and while being sneaky athletic, right? And so I think Shedeur is that guy. Obviously, he comes with a lot of, I don't want to say baggage. He doesn't come with a lot of baggage. He's never gotten in any issue off the field, but he comes with a lot of hype, a lot of attention. Obviously, he's the son of Hall of Famer and now current Colorado Buffaloes coach, Coach Prime Deion Sanders. And so that can have its own trials and tribulations, maybe, because a lot of people aren't necessarily high on Coach Prime, the way he goes about things. And so, a lot of times that stuff kind of can unfortunately drip down to his kids, right? Shiloh and Shedeur, right? Honestly, kind of like how people look at, like I've been told, that I don't like LeBron, and so my criticism drips down to Bronny. I'm not going to really get into that, but I can see where that analogy kind of works. So anyway, you look at Shedeur, and like I said, I think he's got it all. I think he's got every tool. He doesn't have elite arm talent, but he has really, really good arm talent. And again, his ability to go through the reads, go through the progressions, understand what he's seeing, make top level accurate throws, man, I think is just special. I love it. This is a guy who has a relationship with Tom Brady. He's worked with him, I think, since high school. Obviously, Deion Sanders, him being who he is and having the connections he has put his kids in elite opportunity to prepare for this chance that they have to be NFL players and hopefully be NFL players on a high level, right? And so Steve Splendid says, I like Cam Ward. The kid is hungry. Shedeur doesn't have the arm that Cam does. No, he doesn't have the elite. He doesn't have the cannon Cam does, Steve. But I still think he can make every throw. You don't always need the cannon, right? He can make every throw regardless. And I think that his processor is way better. He may not have the higher ceiling in terms of physically. I think he's easily got the higher floor. And I'm a guy that likes to go with what I can see, right? Versus gambling on what might be there in the future. So I'm going to take the higher floor every time. And I think that if he's in the right situation or he has a weapon, I think that Shedeur is just going to continue to get better, along with good coaching, obviously. So anyway, so Boomer Esiason I think he has a Monday through Friday radio show on, I think it's The Fan in New York. His last team was with the Jets. So I guess he stayed in New York. And if we know, Shedeur Sanders just recently put out a rap song called Life. And I don't know if he wants to be a rapper or he just enjoys rapping, but it's right before this show came on. I actually watched the video and listened to the song. And okay, here goes. I know Edward's going to say something here, but if you all know me, I'm an East Coast guy and I love the East Coast style of hip hop. And I'll just say this: when I listened to Shedeur's song, I was not impressed at all. It was, in my humble estimation, it was not good. Like, I don't know why, if you're really not going to take time to put, pen to paper and really take pride in your bars, you're going to try rapping. Like this, all this mumble mouth crap, it's terrible. It's terrible. Like, rapping is an art form, right? It's an art form. It's not, well, it may not be an art form. I don't know. But when I was coming up, it was an art form, right? And so, we took pride in the bars that we crafted. The artists I love take pride, still do, in the bars that they craft. So when you hear people just, Dr. Seuss, Mother Goose, I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, do you care at all about what you're doing with this microphone? But anyway, he has a new song, and I'm sure it's going to be popular because he's a popular guy, right? And I thought it was terrible. But anyway, it led Boomer Esiason in his evaluation to have some interesting comments, because obviously the Jets need a quarterback and the Giants need a quarterback, and both are going to be drafting relatively high. So maybe both of them might have been able to be in play for Shedeur Sanders' services, right? Personally, I think he'd be a perfect fit with the Giants. You got Malik Neighbors there, an elite weapon at the wide receiver position. And then you got New York City, which I think Shedeur's personality would just be perfect for New York. So even with you being historic, you don't believe in no pen, no pad. I didn't say that, but I believe in, like, I think the best of the best. I think those guys really take time to craft their rhymes with a pen and a pad. So anyway, Laker Nation, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. That's something we'll talk about that offline. Maybe that deserves a segment because I really didn't, at the very least, a quick hit. I didn't know. Thank you for putting me on to that. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so Edward is no pen, no pad. I'm not really a fan of that. I think the best guys really take time, write down their rhymes. You know, you got your notebook or whatever. Maybe even a lot of guys do it on their phones now. You know what I'm saying? You delete, you cross out, whatever it is. Nah, that line's not good enough. Let me redo that bar, blah, blah, blah. Right. But, you know, it is what it is. Chris Whitfield says, oh, okay. All right. I rock with you, Chris Whitfield. Where you from, man? I don't blame you for that. I like KRS-One, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, Cool Mo D, LL Cool J, Biggie Smalls, Nas, Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, Redman, DMX, Big Pun, Big L, Eminem. Okay, see, you know what hip hop is. I rock with you, Chris Whitfield. I rock with you. Very good, very good. You're a hip hopper. I like that. So yeah, and guess what though? All these guys, what do they have in common? They took rhyming seriously, right? Rhyming was a real thing. And so to that point, and I'm not sitting here trying to dish Shedeur Sanders. Like, if he wants to rhyme, he's not a guy who at this point has to be out there busting his butt to craft great rhymes to get a demo deal, right? He's got money. He could pay for his studio time. He could pay for his brother has a media company, right? So it's nothing for him to get a video made, right? Now, me personally, I would prefer that he's just continuing to work on his craft as an elite passer, which he already is, but to continue to get better for the next level, right? But, you know, I guess you can't do that 24/7, right? Although, flipping it back to basketball, a dude like Kobe, if he could have not slept and just worked out at basketball all day, every day, he would have done that, right? So, but again, everybody's different, right? So it is what it is. Yeah, man. Yeah, Steve. Yeah, big pun is, man. He definitely had one of the best flows ever. Yeah. Steve, real quick, I don't want to digress, but check out Chris Rivers. That's Big Pun's son, and he rhymes a lot like him, and he is nasty. So check out Chris Rivers. Write that down and check him out when you get off this show. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, whatever, Edward, whatever, man. But anyway, back to Boomer Esiason and Shedeur Sanders. By the way, if y'all haven't heard the song Life, go give it some listens on YouTube. Go listen to Shedeur Sanders' Life. It's a terrible song, but give him some listens because he's a cool cat. Anyway, so I guess Boomer Esiason, I didn't even realize he was an MVP. But anyway, he heard the song and he says, he says, where are we? He was unimpressed by the music and less impressed by Sanders' decision to make the song in the first place. He says, quote, the reason I say he's out, because he took him out of his top picks. The reason I say he's out is because I don't want my guy leading my team worrying about a rap career or any outside career. I want my quarterback to be the leader of the team. I want him solely focused on football and nothing else, unquote, right? And then he says, quote, this will be discussed in a negative light with coaches and scouts, unquote. So I get that, right? When you're talking about a franchise quarterback of an NFL team, that is a marquee position in all of sports. We know that quarterback is the most important position in all of sports. The NFL is obviously the biggest, most valuable, most important sports league in America. And so if you have the opportunity to be drafted high and be the franchise quarterback, QB1 on any one of those 32 rosters, they want to know that you're going to take it seriously, and that's going to be your focus. Now, in a world where there are more distractions than ever, right? Everyone's not going to be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady living in the playbook, living, breathing, watching film. Like, people have other people have other opinions, people have other things to do, they have other parts of their life. And I respect that to an extent. But see, here's the thing. When you look at the all-time greats, like the greatest of the greats, they understand that their focus and their single-mindedness is what got them there, right? Again, I mentioned Kobe earlier, right? Absolute psycho. I mentioned Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Their focus and their single-mindedness on being the best players they could possibly be is what got all these guys to the level that they got to, right? When you look at football, we'll talk about quarterbacks again, right? You're talking about your Peyton Mannings and your Tom Brady's, right? Tom Brady, and I'm not advocating for this necessarily, but Tom Brady lost a marriage because of his obsession with football and being the greatest possible player that he could be, which led him to being arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, right? The single-minded focus and dedication, right? Now, I'm not saying that when Shedeur eventually, if and when he eventually gets married and has a family and has kids, like he shouldn't be able to figure out a way to compartmentalize and give them the time that they're needed, that they deserve as well. But for right now, you single, bro. This is the time when you should lock in and be focused on becoming the best quarterback you can be. And so to some extent, and I'm going to explain why I say to some, I understand Boomer Esiason's hesitation in terms of him saying he wants a guy that's completely locked in on football. Now, here's the flip side of it, right? Like for instance, when I talked to my man Edward in the chat, right? Was it Ed Dog 1986? One of the things he always says was, why don't you have the same energy for such and such, right? And this is a perfect opportunity for me to utilize that. And I'm going to utilize that with Boomer Esiason. So he's getting on Shedeur Sanders for not making football like the end all be all of his life, right? Now, Trevor Lawrence just got I want to say roughly $275 million contract, right? His contract is a total of $275 million. I can't remember the fully guaranteed money, but the point is $275 million contract extension after his, I want to say, third year, right? Now that's where the market is, so that's what it bears. However, when he was coming out prior to the draft, listen to the quotes regarding him. A former offensive coordinator said, quote, Lawrence does not play the game with a passion. When first drafted by the Jags, he did mention that football was not his priority in life. Despite that generous and undeserved second contract, he definitely plays like football is not a priority. His play does not parallel his skill set. Don't see the leadership, the emotion, the excitement, and going through the motions and taking the weekly check are disservices to his teammates, the organization, and the fans, unquote. Okay, so prior to him getting drafted, he said that football is not his priority in life, right? He said, he said, quote, this is Trevor Lawrence now before he got drafted. He says, it's not like I need this for my life to be okay. I want to do it because I want to be the best I can be. I want to maximize my potential. Who wouldn't want to? You kind of waste it if you don't. It's hard to explain that because I want people to know I'm passionate about what I do and it's really important to me. But I don't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everybody wrong. I just don't have that. I can't manufacture that. I don't want to. I think that's unhealthy to a certain extent, just always thinking that you've got to prove somebody wrong. You've got to do more. You've got to be better, unquote. Now, I understand what he's saying to an extent, right? But GMs don't want to hear that. Coaches don't want to hear that. Owners don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you're a junkie, that you live, sleep, and breathe football like Andrew Luck did, like Peyton Manning did, like Tom Brady did, right? We brought up Tom Brady before, and like so many others did, right? Like Caleb Williams did up until this point, like CJ Stroud did, right? Like Michael Penix Jr. did, like all these guys that were coming out and coming into the league over the years, right? And so the question is now, people talked about it a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal. And even though you haven't seen all of that natural talent play out on the field, he only has one playoff win in all this time. Even though Shad Khan has spent the money to try and build up the team around him, he still got a massive extension while demonstrating that football is not as important to him as it should be for a guy that's that good, right? And so I'm really trying to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. So the question now is just like Ed Dog says to me, where's that same energy? And so that's what I'm asking Boomer Esiason. Where's that same energy for Trevor Lawrence? Now, I'm not saying that Boomer didn't have it, but I didn't hear it. I didn't hear that from him, right? So anyway, Boomer Esiason, he said what he said about Shedeur Sanders. He dropped him down in his rankings. I guess he said he's out on him because of the rap song. But here's the other deal, right? And again, I know it's two different sports, and I know that basketball is different. But if we remember, again, we keep talking about Kobe as one of the one of the paradigms for hard work. But Kobe was a rapper, right? We remember that. I think he had a video with Brandy in it. Kobe's been rapping since high school, right? God bless the dead. Shaquille O'Neal was a rapper. He had a number of platinum albums just a couple of years ago. He got in that thing with Dame Lillard, and he scorched him on the victory track. He did a diss record for him. Dame Lillard is a rapper, right? And nobody gets on those guys. It hasn't stopped them from being, the best players that they could be. And so I look at it and I'm wondering, why is Boomer Esiason? What is it about Shedeur Sanders that's making Boomer Esiason really, go in on this? If there's anything he should be going in on, he should be like, yo, Shedeur, if you go rap, at least be good at it. Because he's not. I couldn't help it. No, seriously, if he needed to tell him, if you're gonna rap, at least be good at it. Dame music is not bad, Laker Nation, but he got annihilated. He got scorched by Shaq when Shaq did the diss track over the victory beat. Shaq scorched him. That was ridiculous. And yes, Chris Whitfield, Heavy D is better than Hammer and Vanilla Ice. That's true. Although, because of Hammer's commercial success, people don't know that he was really raw and he was really a G. But that's a whole different thing. Yes, what's up, Doc, with the Fushnikins? Absolutely. Shaq killed that verse. Really, that whole album was good. It had good production. It had good rhymes. Like, Shaq can really go. If you look it up, Can't Stop the Rain remix, Shaq actually was on the track with Notorious B.I.G. and he held his own. So that should tell you right there. You rapping with one of the best of all time and you held your own. But the point I'm trying to make anyway is you look at this thing and you say, man, Boomer really went in on Shedeur Sanders and he didn't keep it objective because, as far as I know, he didn't have those same commentaries to make about Trevor Lawrence, and that wasn't cool. So, again, I'm a big fan of Shedeur Sanders as a player. I think he's got all the tools. I think he should stop rapping because he's not good at that. But, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead at this point. I'm going to put the number in the chat, and yeah, you guys can call in. I would love to hear your thoughts on, and I would also love to hear if anybody's actually heard the Shedeur Sanders song and what y'all think of it. Because again, y'all already know I think it's not good at all. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that. If the song is any good, and I would love to hear how you feel about Boomer Esiason's comments on Shedeur Sanders. I would love to hear if you think that Shedeur Sanders rapping is going to affect him as a quarterback in the NFL. Do you think that he should stick to quarterbacking and make that his primary focus? I'd like to hear all those thoughts. 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Let's see. Let's see what we got in the chat. I was talking. I missed some of that. Edward, man. Edward, stop. Why do you keep bringing up Gucci Mane? That dude. He's not good, Edward. He's not good, bro. I'm trying to tell you, he's not good. I tried to listen to your songs, man. You sent me the songs. I listened to him. He's not good. It's not, no, man. It's not about get off my lawn, Edward. It's just about people taking pride in, the words. People taking pride in the rhymes. That's important. Nas and Jay, that's Nas, not Naz, man. And no, there's way more than Nas and Jay-Z, man. Dante Brown said, you old men always hating on the youth. Tell me why you consider criticism hating. I want to hear that, Dante. I want to hear that. Is it hating to say one thing is definitively better than the other? Now, the reason I say this while I'm waiting to see if we get any calls, and I'm going to digress to the hip hop piece just a little bit, right? The reason I say this, that my era of hip hop is better than this era of hip hop for the most part, is because there is actually a seriousness about rhyming, right? There's actually linguistic techniques utilized, right? In linguistic and literary techniques actually utilized in writing the rhymes that you don't see today, right? At least not from a lot of these guys that are popular, right? Stuff like allegory, metaphor and simile, internal rhyme scheme, all of these actual technical aspects of writing rhymes and things like that you don't see a focus on that. It's so basic. Now, a lot of things today are watered down, unfortunately. I don't know what that is, what that can be attributed to, but with all the information at our disposal, I would think things would be more advanced. But on a technical level, people rhyming back then in the 90s and in the early to mid 2000s were far superior for the most part than dudes rhyming now. That's not hating. That's fact if you actually listen to the rhymes then versus the rhymes now. But, you can disagree, and I'm sure you will. That's fine. But I am curious to know why you say that, it was old men hating on, what'd you say? Old men always hating on the youth. I think we also need to be careful when we utilize the term hating. That's a low information response. If you've been on this show, you know that's something I say. Low information response, i.e., you don't have a rational response. So the easy way to say is, oh, you're just hating. Really? I'm just hating? Okay, explain it. Very few people can actually do that. But, it is what it is. Okay, looks like we're not going to get any calls on this topic. And I could really get into the hip hop thing and talk that all night. But that's not what this show is about. This is a sports show. And one of these days we might just totally digress. Maybe one of those dog days of summer where there's not a lot going on sports wise and just have a hip hop discussion. That could happen.